What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Teed Up. I'm your host, Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug, Andresen. This is our Thanksgiving edition of Teed Up. First and foremost, we hope everybody is enjoying themselves, moving around, traveling safely to wherever you're going for the holiday season. Much love to everybody who's watching, and we hope that you and your families have an incredible Thanksgiving. For Teed Up, though, we have an incredible jam-packed episode as we do each and every week. We have our 1 month All-Stars. We're going to talk about those surprising players, and hopefully we can see some of these guys actually make the All-Star game. We got One Man Weave, our new segment that we introduced last week, and we even got producer Christian joining us to talk about some college basketball things. First, as always, we have to start with One Man Weave. Getting around the NBA, there's a lot of different things going on. One of the first things we have to talk about is the Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are on a 13-game winning streak. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference, and I really just want to give them some love because of everything that they've overcome and overcame over the last couple years or so, and talk about being thankful, talk about the holidays and just everybody feeling upbeat. You got to feel good for the Detroit Pistons. This is a team that, 2 years ago, almost lost 30 games in a row. There was no real direction. They had a head coach there that just didn't want to be there, and all of the action said that after they had already paid them and convinced them to come and coach the team. You had questions around Kay Cunningham from some people on social media, in the media, questioning could he be that guy or how he was looking. And for them to get through all of that and overcome all of that in such a quick turnaround, to go and get JB, to continue to trust in Cade Cunningham and believe that he's that guy, to continue to trust Jalen Duren and his young core and Beef Stew and all these guys. And then over the last offseason or so, they had the additions of Tobias Harris, who had a very tough exit from Philadelphia, to the point where a lot of people looked at the contract that he got with Detroit and was like, why would they do that? Look what he just did with Philadelphia. Even the Malik Beasley acquisitions and the Tim Hardaway Juniors, and all of the moves that they have made have allowed them to now be not only this hot team to start the season, but I'm one of the people that believe in what they're doing. Now, it's not for me to say that they're going to come out of the Eastern Conference and compete for the championship, right? But I don't think that they're a team that you can't consider having some sort of chance. And when you look at them during this first stretch and you look at how good of a team they are, it's not one guy. It ain't like Cade Cunningham is just playing like out of his mind and carrying this group. We'll see as the episode goes on. This is a team that's going to have two All-Stars for me after 1 month, right? This is a team that has, to me, all of the boxes checked for playoff basketball. We saw how competitive, we saw how tough and how physical they were last year in their first taste of playoff basketball as a young team. So I look at them as a real threat to, be a big player in the Eastern Conference. Again, you have to get through the Cleveland Cavaliers, who deserve some respect still. You have to consider my New York Knicks. You know what I mean? But right after those two teams, this Detroit Pistons team should be mentioned. And if they continue to play it the way that they're playing, after they already showed us last year, I think that they have enough to make it at least difficult for the New York Knicks once again, or the Cleveland Cavaliers, or any other team that is trying to potentially make a run at coming out of the Eastern Conference. And I also think that they're a team to watch out for, because when we get to February, when we get past December 13th and trades are a little bit more realistic and they're on more of the horizon, and we start to see more names hit the trade mill, they're going to be a team that could easily be big time buyers. And I continue to look at this team as a dangerous threat, to not just be some hot young team to start the year, but to actually, again, be a team that can make it difficult for the Knicks or the Cavaliers to prevail out of the Eastern Conference. Also going around the conference and showing some more love, the Toronto Raptors. They are on an 8-game winning streak, and they're at the top of the Eastern Conference standings right now as we speak as well. Got to give them some love and some credit. They're one of my favorite teams currently to watch play, just because of what they can do defensively, the style of getting up and down and transition points. I'm a big Brandon Ingram fan. He's one of my guys in the league, and to see him healthy, to see him thriving, and to see him playing meaningful basketball has been a joy to watch. And who doesn't love watching teams that are team based, right? That play with each other on both ends, communicate really well, share the basketball, have a good bench unit that they can count on. This is one of my favorite watches. If you have not been involved in watching the Toronto Raptors during this 8-game winning streak, I advise you to get into play and get to it, because Mamu coming off that bench has been has been a sight to see. Jacoby Walter and Grady Dick are playing better right now than when they started. Who doesn't love Jamal Shead, a former Houston guard? So Toronto Raptors must-see TV right now. And I know as a Knicks fan, I shouldn't be giving this much love to Eastern Conference teams because they could be in the way of us doing what we want to do, which is getting to the NBA final stage, in particular, and possibly trying to hoist that Larry O.B. as tough as it is to say because of this other team I'm about to mention. But I'm a basketball fan at the end of the day, and I give credit what credit is due. Now to wrap up the hot teams around the week, the Thunder. As a Knicks fan, as a fan of any team in the Eastern Conference that has hopes of making it to the NBA Finals, even the idea of just making it is like a celebration because anybody who does make it is going to have to go up against this 17-1 or whatever they is by the time this comes out. They're on a 9-game winning streak. They've only lost one game, and they don't even have J-Dub. And I feel like we keep mentioning how good they are without J-Dub and some of the injuries that they fought through. But I still, every week, am leaving more impressed to the point where their games are sometimes not even worth watching or tuning into. And I won't lie, I'm kind of, contradicting myself because I was tuned into the Jazz Thunder game from a few days ago, and it looked really intriguing. And for a second there, the Utah Jazz had all of us like, oh, well, they get the second loss. Just beating this team is like a championship in its own right. And sure enough, I took Penny out for a bathroom break, and I came back, and the Thunder were up like 27 after being down double digits. Just in the snap of the fingers, the game was turned on his head, and that's just how good they are. And so, again, shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Can't give them enough flowers. They are killing it and making our league extremely interesting. We are getting closer and closer to the December 13th mark, which is where a lot of the contracts that were recently signed are able to get moved and everything like that. And so because of that, I think it's interesting that we do have some trade news a little bit because that's one of my favorite times of the year during the season is the rumor mill, trade season, figuring out which guys can be on the move and who can make what team do what. We got a report from Mark Stein that said Ja Morant, Trae Young, and LaMelo Ball could all be available by the trade deadline. And it's interesting to me because all three of these guards are extremely popular. I can admit that I'm a huge fan of all three of these guys, and I love when they're on the floor. I love when they're competing and what they bring to the game. But I think they are all interesting because they're in this unique situation where we all understand how good they are and how good they've been. But we're reaching this period for them where I think the idea of all three of these guards has been a little bit better than the reality. And I'm trying not to be harsh at all because, once again, I am a fan of these guys and they can play. And we have seen flashes of them contributing to making their teams better. But it's just an interesting time right now because I do think that they could be available. I do think that those conversations will exist. But again, Ja Morant has not been on the floor at all over the last few seasons. It's been very minimal. And there's been a lot of drama and a lot of stuff going on. We just recently had him and Klay Thompson, even some more drama out there. The team just doesn't look good. And every game that goes by kind of looks like it's making a little bit more sense for them to pivot and move. What is his value because of, the lack of games played over the last so-and-so years? LaMelo Ball is the same way, where he is constantly having these injuries. And now that they have Nipple and this younger movement going on, maybe they feel a little bit more inclined to listen to offers. And then Trae Young, who I think is the most interesting because he is the guy that, for the most part, has been able to be on the floor. He's been the catalyst to getting his team to these play-in and playoff experiences, even though that they've, the last couple of times have gotten swept, the gentleman swept, or whatnot. But all of these guards are unique. They're at times box office, but they are expensive. And right now, they're all missing time. And to just see them available at a time where it feels like most of the really good teams have good options at the point guard position, I'm going to watch this and I'm going to monitor it because it's like they're probably stuck. They may have to get swapped for each other. Or are we going to see one of these down in the dumpster organizations commit to them foolishly and kind of pigeonhole themselves? So I'm watching this one closely. And again, I think these guys do have some value, but where is that at? We'll see. We'll be back with our 1 month All Stars from the Eastern Conference after this break. Now we're going to get into our 1 month All Stars. So far, we have the Eastern Conference. I do want to remind everybody at home that it is going to be a new format this season for All Star Weekend, which I have my opinions on. I think we can discuss those at a later time because I want to give these guys their flowers. But just so y'all are familiar, there will be 24 players, right, like usually. But these 24 players will be cut down into 3 different teams. We're going to have 2 U.S. teams and then 1 world team, which, again, is interesting dynamic. But I'm such an old-fashioned guy that I'd rather just have East versus West. And, we do something like change the jerseys. Let the guys wear their respective team jersey and just throw like a all-star patch or something on there. But all of these new different games inside of the game, and it's confusing the casual fan, and it's, again, neither here nor there. My first Eastern All-Star is a guy that has been phenomenal. His team is thriving. They're winning, so it's easy to put him in there, and that's Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham right now is averaging 27 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, shooting 44% from the field, 29% from 3, 82% from the free throw line. Again, this team is at the top of the Eastern Conference. They're the hottest team in basketball outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a young team that, we just talked about in the opening of the show that has the sky as the limit. And he's been the engine of that. He's been the guy that you look at when you talk about the turnaround that the Pistons have had. This would be his second All-Star game. And so already Cade Cunningham is turning that corner into stardom and becoming that perennial All-Star that we see a lot of the stars become. Next, we have another perennial All-Star, a guy that anytime his team is having success or fighting back, he's usually the catalyst. And he's trying to fight for a lot more this season. In the backcourt with Cade Cunningham, and that's Donovan Mitchell. And he has been averaging 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, 51% from the field, almost 40% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line. Yeah, Donovan is a guy that I think has almost become underrated in our league as far as who we talk about and give our attention to. He's been steady. He's been consistent. His team has always relied on him a lot. Particularly with the injuries that they've been dealing with out there in Cleveland, and to see him continue to shoulder the load for them and to keep their head above water in the regular season, in the playoffs, has been a sight to see. He's to me one of the most explosive and exciting guys when he gets hot. It's almost like watching a video game and a guy gets their takeover, or they get on a heater and they start to flash red and the ball gets on fire. It's like that. And again, anytime this team is in trouble and looks like they're out for the count, he is right there to spark that run and hit that big shot to turn the game around for them. And so deserving for him. And I think Donovan Mitchell is already probably up to 5 or 6 All-Stars. And it just shows you how fast time is kind of going by. And they're also an interesting team because I wonder if they could get 2 All-Stars. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Giannis is my next guy. But if the All-Star game was starting today, like we're pretending, after 1 month, Giannis probably would be a injury scratch. And I think this spot now becomes opened for somebody else to swoop in. And I wonder if that would be Evan Mobley. I know Cavalier fans have been disappointed with his play, but I think that's because they want him to take this superstar jump. But on the bottom line of Evan Mobley, he's still a very good, productive player. I do think ultimately we'll lean to Cat here, but I still want to acknowledge Giannis to give him his All-Star nod. And he's averaging 31, 11, and 7, 63% from the field, low-key shooting 50% from 3, obviously on low volume, and 63% from the line. The Bucks right now are on a losing streak without him. And as of today, it's 5 games, and obviously that is taking a toll on them. But I think, it just shows the importance and the value of Giannis. And that's why I think this MVP race, when we get to the last stretch of the season, is going to be interesting because you can't take away what Shea is doing. You have to consider Nikola Jokic. But then you talk about value and the meaning of the word MVP, most valuable. And to see him this time and everything drop immediately for the Bucks, I think shows that he is, by definition, one of the most valuable players in the NBA. And I can't wait to see what the rest of the voters and the media and everybody else believes. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, yet another All-Star game, and again, would be one of my All-Star starters. Now, first-time All-Star, and I think between the East and West, 1-month All-Stars that I've selected. I have 8 first-time All-Stars. I don't know the record, but I would believe or have to believe that 8 is either the new record or would be the new record or is tied for a record, because I don't know the last time we've had 8 brand new All-Stars. Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. This one, I'm hoping can materialize into an actual All-Star selection. I would love for that to happen. I would be extremely proud. Y'all know, Tee It Up, we've been big fans of Jalen Johnson here for a very long time. And to see him actually take that step, actually take that leap after kind of, a disappointing season last year with his season ending prematurely with a shoulder or elbow injury, to see him be able to get back and play at this level and get to a higher level, and the Hawks are having success, is super dope to see. Right now, he's averaging 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 56% from the field, 41% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. He has been one of the best stories in the NBA right now. And I think not only from an individual standpoint, but what it allows the Atlanta Hawks to do going forward is very pivotal. They have a situation now where they kind of can't lose. Trae Young either comes back and he fits everything, and they get him to buy into whatever it is that they want to do from a defensive or an offensive standpoint, or you move on from Trae Young and you still have a guy that you can have step right into being your guy. They have the New Orleans Pelicans pick that is probably going to materialize into like top 5, top 6 at the least. And that's always good to be able to add talent to the roster. And then, just again, being able to have a young guy emerge like this and be able to do it all for them has been such a sight to see. Moving on to our next All-Star, a guy that's been here before. His team is on fire right now as well, and that's Scotty Barnes. He's been over there leading the charge for the Toronto Raptors. A lot of conversation has been around who would be the Raptors All-Star. And y'all know me, as much as I love Jalen Johnson and y'all and Kyrie and all of these guys, Brandon Ingram is right there in the mix and the list of all of the guys that P loves. But when you watch the Raptors and you talk about impact, and you talk about what's making them go, Brandon Ingram plays a very big part to that. But I don't think it's anybody on their roster that has done more or does more on a night-in-night basis than Scotty Barnes. From what he does defensively to how good and aggressive he's been offensively, he's looked like a really tremendous player, and I think he's the easy representative of the Toronto Raptors come All-Star if they're able to keep this up. He has been a force defensively, again, leading the charge there. And I think he's done a really good job of making sure his game meshes alongside of Brandon Ingram and Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett. And that's one of my favorite things about this team, is that they all found a way to have success and not get in each other's way, excuse me. So shout out to Scotty Barnes. We also have Tyrese Maxey, who is right now averaging 33 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 47% from the field, 42% from 3, 88% from the free throw line. Very close to 50, 40, 90 there. I mean, what else is there to say? Tyrese Maxey has been one of the most electrifying players in the NBA and one of the best scorers. He's an easy All-Star nod there, keeping the vibes up and high for Philadelphia as they wait for the return of Joel Embiid and Paul George to really get this full group together and see if they could put it together for a playoff run. Keep it on the theme of first-time All-Stars. We have Jalen Duren, the second All-Star for the Detroit Pistons, who are red hot, as we said before. He's given us 20 and 11 with 2 assists. Love all of the play he's given them. I think he solidifies their young core and allows them to move forward confidently with a duo of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. Their pick and roll game has been phenomenal, and you wanted to be able to see his play take a jump for the Detroit Pistons to invest in them. And I hate to say it in this way, but Pistons, be prepared to pay that young man, because he's going to be very expensive for y'all, rightfully so. We're also going to go with Josh Giddey, another first-time All-Star representing the Chicago Bulls, giving us not even almost. He's giving us 20, 10, and 10, averaging pretty much a triple-double, 46% from the field, 39% from 3, 75% from the free throw line. The Bulls have slowed down a bunch, but you can't take away the performance and the play of Josh Giddey throughout the first month there for the Chicago Bulls. And kind of round us out here, we'll speed through a bit. Jalen Brunson is also going to get a nod. Jaylen Brown, 2 guys who have been here before. But I really want to give focus to our last 2 first-timers, which would be Norman Powell. Norman Powell finally making an All-Star game. A lot of people said he was deserving last year for the Clippers, but now he gets that nod with the Miami Heat. And then last but not least, Franz Wagner, especially with Paolo being out. The Magic are getting things together. And so he's the guy that rightfully so gets the nod. Y'all don't go anywhere. Stay put. We got our Western Conference 1 month All-Stars after this break. And now time to show some love to our sponsor over at DraftKings. Y'all already know Pick6, baby. Very, very simple format. We're going to take 2 or more players or picks, and we're going to look into their props, points, rebounds, assists, threes made, whatever, and we're going to go more or less, more or less. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was on a hot streak, right? I've had weeks where we went 4 out of 4. Every pick that I gave y'all hit. Last week wasn't that type of situation. So hopefully this week I can redeem myself. I got some for y'all right here. We're going to go Julius Randle of the Timberwolves, points, rebound, and assists. Julius Randle all year long has been a guy that's had his hand in about a little bit of everything for the Timberwolves. He's a guy that can give us 20-plus points on any given night, 9 or 10 rebounds, and we're talking about anywhere from between 5 to 7 assists. So hopefully this is one of those nights where we get a stat sheet stuff performance from Julius Randle and the points, rebound, assists equal up to more. Next, we have Tyler Hero, who is back from injury, and his first game back with the Miami Heat, he looked like he didn't miss any time. They gave that boy the basketball, and he did what he does best, which is score so well that he had 0 assists. So we're not going to touch the assists. We're going to be points focused for Tyler Hero, and we're going to go more because Tyler Hero, again, was super sharp. And like all of the people that had conversations on whether or not he would be able to blend into the new system and a new style, I was one of those ones that said, dog, Tyler Hero is a scorer. It will not take him much time to get acclimated to just being a much better scorer and just scoring at will and shooting at will. So Tyler Hero, more, this is one that I'm going to eye for a while. If he's able to hit the more, we'll probably have him on here for the next couple of weeks because he's just gotten off to that good of a start in that first game that, again, it looks like he hasn't missed any time at all. Going over to my team, the New York Knicks. We're going against the Hornets. The Hornets are a team that has been struggling, even though they have the young guys doing well over there, Con Knippel and everybody. I'm going to go more for Jalen Brunson's points. Jalen Brunson should not see anybody on this floor for the Charlotte Hornets that can stop him from getting anywhere he wants to get to and scoring at will. And I believe this should be one of those games that we put them to bed early, and that to me equals out to Jalen Brunson having one of those big first halves and hopefully getting the more sooner than later in this game. It's always good to check, your Pick6 and to hit the app and look and see your guy took care of business in that first half or the first quarter. There's nothing more rewarding than that. You can sit back and chill and just enjoy the rest of the game. And then last but not least for our Pick6, we're going to go Zach LaVine, a guy that I had on here once before, but instead of going more, we're going to go less. It has not been super good for Sacramento and Zach LaVine specifically over the last few games. They've had, a 2-game winning streak now. And Zach LaVine hasn't been closing the games. He's been struggling a little bit. So because of that, we're going to go in a different direction and go less. Now, over the last couple of times I went less, apparently the player has got the memo and decided to go and get the more. But we're just going to try something different because, like I mentioned at the top of our Pick6, we had some misses last week, and I'm going to go over some of those misses just so we can remind ourselves of who to maybe watch out for. We had Donovan Mitchell. I took the Donovan Mitchell assist, and producer Christian told me how I did, and not only did he say we missed this one, he put in like parentheses, not even close. So Donovan Mitchell, I think I took for like 4.5, maybe 5 assists or so. Apparently, he wasn't even close. So Donovan Mitchell's assists is something that we may stay away from, and we're going to watch very closely as the year continues to go on. Karl-Anthony Towns did not get the more on the points. I believe we missed him by a point or two. I remember watching that closely and being like, just get one more layup, and he failed us on that. Sabonis did not play. Speaking of the Sacramento Kings, he did not play, and so he was voided there, which I take that as you may. And then last but not least, Shaedon Sharpe did hit. So we went 1 of 3 on last week's picks. Hopefully, again, this week is a little bit more giving. Right? You get Thanksgiving, so hopefully these picks are giving, and some of y'all can hit the more. But with that being said, we're going to get into our Western Conference All-Stars after this break. For those of you who haven't checked out DraftKings Pick6 yet, there's an exclusive offer waiting for you. Right now, new DraftKings customers can play 5 and get $50 in bonus picks All you have to do is download the Pick6 app and use promo code ENJOY when you sign up. Pick6 is available in most states, including Texas, California, and Missouri. So don't be afraid to get in on the action. Ride the upside with Pick6. Switching over to the Western Conference, we have our 1 month All-Stars for this side. Obviously, to start things off, really easy. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the leading guy probably for MVP for most people, especially my OKC Thunder fans. How could we not go with Shai, averaging 32, 5, and 6, 51, 41, 90. 50, 40, 90 on 32 points per game, leading the best team in the NBA. This is the guy that we just saw in the Netflix series that just got canceled, believe it or not. Say that 30 points for him at this point is a bad game, and he's kind of living proof of that. Like, I feel like every time I watch Shai, it's an easy 30. He's sitting out fourth quarters. And again, this team looks like they are destined to have another NBA Finals, not only appearance, but win, because they look even better than last year. Next, we have another guy that is going to be a leading guy for the MVP award, and that's Nikola Jokic. Again, another perennial All-Star. He's given the Nuggets 30, 13, and 11, another triple-double. So that's so far Josh Giddey, Jokic, and Shai right now average triple-doubles. So the triple-double conversation about them not being as important or kind of watered down, I think I got to kick back around, because these dudes is putting up some numbers, and I don't think these are wasteful triple-doubles, by the way. I always hated that talk of like, oh, triple-doubles are meaningless now because everybody's getting them. To average one is still impressive to me, and I just noticed we got 3 guys after 1 month averaging them. We'll see if they can continue to sustain it over the course of the regular season. But, yeah, Nikola Jokic, 30, 13, and 11, 63% from the field, 42% from 3, 86% from the free throw line. Just brilliance. I love watching Nikola Jokic play, and to see the Nuggets playing the way that they're playing. They look like the biggest threat to the Thunder. And even then, if they're able to take down the Thunder, the Eastern Conference got a tall mountain to climb if they want to hoist up the Larry O.B. We also have another injury. This is a part of the All-Star nods or All-Star picks and selections that kind of irritate me, because I love to see our talent, especially our All-Star type talent, be able to be healthy enough to play. Victor Wembanyama, he is averaging 26, 13, and 4 on 50%, 34% from the three-point line, and 86% from the free throw line. He'll have an injury replacement that we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, Wemby is a guy that you want to see play in these festivities. Like I said, I think the game needs him. The game has had this urgency of crowning him as the guy, and to see him, finally help the Spurs take that turn and the way that they started out of the gates. I don't want it to slip down. They've been 3-1 without him so far, and that's a sight to see. But I do want Vic to be able to be around, because again, when you talk about the dominance of the Thunder, you talk about how good the Nuggets have looked. The Spurs are just another one of those teams that you can add in the mix when Vic is healthy, just because of how he's going to be in 7 games and the opposing teams having the game plan for him, the way he makes the Spurs defense, So we want our guys to be healthy. We want our talents to be on the floor. So Vic get well soon. His replacement will be a guy out there in LA, which is Austin Reeves, who was averaging 27, 5, and 7, 48% from the field, 31% from 3, 87% from the free throw line. Got to get some love to Austin Reeves. I love guys like this with this type of story. Me and Christian talk about him all the time. Christian was watching him with Wichita State, and he wasn't really doing anything much. And then he talked about him, kind of just all of a sudden flipping that switch over at Oklahoma. And he was a really good player at Oklahoma, who I don't think at the time I was looking at as some NBA player. I just looked at him as this random college guard who had a bag, and like if you slept on him or if you took him by his appearance and judged the book by his cover, he would cook you. And he did that a lot. And to be able to see that translate weirdly and oddly enough to the NBA, where again, a lot of evaluators did not have Austin Reeves as a guy that you would project to be doing this at this level. And again, I just love the story. Betting on himself, didn't take the extension. He's looking like a guy that's going to get paid handsomely. Everything is going up right now for LA. LeBron is back. They're thriving. And I'm loving everything about their team. And Austin Reeves is a big reason why. So shout out to the first-time All-Star in Austin Reeves. Luka, his teammate, is also going to be a guy that I select, who's averaging 34, 9, and 9. We talked about the triple-doubles. He's right on verge of that. 47% from the field, 31% from 3, 79% from the free throw line. It's good to see the Don Luka Doncic doing his thing in LA. Got that Mavericks trade in the rear view, leading a new team, looking like the Luka that we all love. Every time this dude has played, it's kind of been box office. It was a walking 40-point player at one point in the season, still putting up gaudy numbers. You know what you're getting from Luka Doncic. Same thing with this guy, Kevin Durant, Houston Rockets representative. He had 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 48% from the field, 36% from the three-point line, and 88% from the free throw line. This is one of the things I'm going to talk about in the next segment about what I'm grateful for. And guys like Kevin Durant is going to come up in that conversation because, like, to be able to watch these guys, and my next guy is Steph Curry, so I'll group him in with KD. To watch these guys age the way that they are and to still be able to be so effective and to give us those memories and those moments still at this age, I think we kind of take for granted a little bit because this era, specifically with Bron and KD and Steph, even CP3, who was, announced he's going to retire at the end of the year. Like, guys are just, I don't know. I don't think the younger generation understands that when I was growing up and I was a young kid, the star players weren't 35 and 36 still being this great. You might have had one or two here or there that aged gracefully, but oftentimes, I mean, guys were getting into their 30s and it was a very steep, tough decline. Y'all see those pictures of the old players in new jerseys, and you know what I mean? That's what y'all use to call a player washed, is a 2000s version of like Scottie Pippen on a random team or something like that. No disrespect to Scottie, but yeah, to not have to deal with that, you know what I mean? To see Steph in that one uniform, and every time you see him in that uniform, you get the product that you fell in love with for the most part. Now, Father Time is undefeated, and guys aren't playing at the unanimous MVP type level, but they're still playing at all NBA, all-star level. Even, I mean, Steph, again, he's averaging 28, 3, and 4. And I'm a little frustrated with the way the Warriors are playing, but I know when he's on the floor, he's going to make things happen, and he's going to make them look like that team that a lot of us bought into coming into the season. So again, shout out to Steph Curry, shout out to KD, shout out to Bron, shout out to Russell Westbrook, all of these guys who, James Harden just gave us 55 the other day. These guys are aging so gracefully and still able to impact the game, and again, allow us to have those moments with them. So shout out to them. We got Lauri Markkanen out there in Utah, almost averaging 30 points a game. A second-time All-Star guy that after his first appearance, I was kind of questioning, like, hey, would this be like the one-and-one time for Lauri Markkanen? And no, he's been phenomenal. I love everything that the Jazz do. They're not a great team, but they're still fun, and I think there's value in that. And I think Lauri Markkanen is a big charge and force of that. And on a nightly basis, you can kind of get 30 points penciled in without him doing too much of on-the-ball work. So shout out to Lauri Markkanen and the Utah Jazz for what they have going on there. Back to our first-time All-Stars, Chet Holmgren, the second All-Star for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Rightfully so. They deserve to have two. You guys are lucky that Jalen Williams is hurt, because if he was healthy, they'd probably be getting 3 All-Stars right now and taking away another spot from somebody. He's given us 18, 8, and 2, 56% from the field, 34% from 3, 84% from the free throw line. I mean, I talked about the Thunder enough with the Shea nod, but yeah, seeing Chet be healthy, seeing him be able to be here, to be able to be an All-Star game after last year, he was a guy that I think we projected, if he was going to continue to be healthy, to be an All-Star guy, to be all defensive, maybe even have some DPOY votes. And to be able to see him here healthy, thriving, and able to get the All-Star nod now for the first time, probably the first of many, is super dope. And I think this is, again, the first of many for Chet Holmgren in his career. Then we have my boy Alpi. The Houston Rockets are getting their second All-Star as well. Alperen Sengun giving us 23, 10, and 7. Again, if you look around the league, and I know it's only 1 month in, a lot of guys are putting up some crazy, crazy counting stats. We know what Sengun is about. I think he's one of those guys that's made for an All-Star game. He's super exciting with his way of passing and being able to move around, so agile as a big man. Easy nod for him. We got my boy Devin Booker back in the All-Star game, putting up 27 points for an exciting and young, hungry Phoenix Suns team. It's good to see Devin Booker back in that light, playing some meaningful basketball and seeing him kind of turn things around. And then we got Anthony Edwards, of course. Box office. He's also averaging around 26, 27 points per game. Can't forget him, one of our young faces and young stars. Another All-Star nod under his belt. And then last but not least, another first-time All-Star. Again, we had 8 first-time All-Stars for this segment. Denny Avia for the Portland Trailblazers, my Portland Trailblazers, giving us 25, 6, and 5. Incredible talent right now. The game is in great hands. We will be back with what we're thankful for around the NBA after this break. Now, for the holiday season, we're going to switch gears just a little bit, and I'm going to talk to y'all about some things that I am grateful for and thankful for around basketball. And I'm also going to end with some things that I am grateful for in life as well. But of course, we got to start with our basketball. First and foremost, I just want to take some time out to be a homer, to be biased for a second, because I don't do it often on Teed Up or a lot of my platforms, because I like to just be a straightforward basketball fan. And there's so many different people and voices that are so biased that you can't really get genuine opinions and everything like that. But I am thankful and grateful for my New York Knicks being in a position that they're in. I am a self-made Knicks fan. A lot of people ask, like, how did you become a Knicks fan? It's very short and simple and sweet. Growing up, I thought I was going to the NBA. I wanted to be an NBA player, and I was going to be a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant disciple, right? I was tall for a kid, so I used to like dream and think that I was going to magically be 6'6", just like them. I grew up to be 6'4", not that far away, but I had everything typed out in my mind. I would be like the same height, the same weight, and I was going to be a shooting guard, a high volume scoring, high level scoring shooting guard, just like Kobe. And so, because I had this whole career planned out, I would say to myself, okay, I can't go to LA because that's Kobe's. I'm here in Chicago. I'm growing up in Chicago. I'm not going to be in Jordan's shadow. Why would I do that? So what's the next big thing that I can go to that could be mine? And as a young kid, I was able to point out the New York Knicks. I'm like, oh my gosh, the Madison Square Garden. I'd never been to Madison Square Garden at the time, but it was one of the most beautiful places to watch basketball games on ESPN or TNT. And, I remember their history as a young kid doing my research. It was really Patrick Ewing in my time. You know what I mean? And so I was like, boom, there is no shadow of a shooting guard or anybody to kind of take that away from me, right? And so kind of drawing up that dream led me to be a Knicks fan. And that's why I say I'm a self-made Knicks fan. Most Knicks fans are inherited family. You grew up in New York. I'm a Chicago self-made New York Knicks fan. And because of that, it allows you to know that I'm a genuine fan. There's never been a bandwagon for me to hop on, because for majority of my life and being a Knicks fan, they have not been that good. And even when they was good, it was very minimal and marginal. So to see us prevail through all of this that we've gone through over the last few years, I've been a Knicks fan when they were winning 20 games. I remember Marcus Morris was our best player. No disrespect to Marcus Morris. The first time I ever went to Madison Square Garden, it was to watch a Knicks team that had Mario Hezonja and Noah Vonleh in the starting lineup. So to get through all of that, right? And I remember the reaction I had when we traded Kristaps Porzingis. My reaction was the same reaction that the Mavericks fans had when they traded Luka. Like, I was ready to give up my Knicks fandom. I believe I got on Instagram Live and was like, hey, don't refer to me as a Knicks fan anymore, because I could not support a team that just made a move like that. And to get through all of that, and to now have a team that I can watch on a night-in, night basis, stress-free, right? We're a contending team. We have a team that people think can get to the NBA Finals. So when I watch regular season games and we struggle here, we struggle there, don't get me wrong. I have my things that I look at and I say I want this to be better. Yeah, I would love the Knicks to go out there and win every single game that they play. But I don't live in the bubble of being too stressed or have to care too much about a regular season win or a loss. When we just lost to the Magic a few games ago, it was nothing. It was like, obviously, dang, it's tough, disappointed, wanted us to win, but I move on. And I do want to say I am one of those fans that is just a fan, right? Like, the Knicks do not dictate how I sleep at night. You know what I mean? I have a line that I'm not willing to cross with my fandom. I'm not like most people on Twitter or around the world who got the bumper stickers and different things like that. I'll wear the gear, right? I'll drink out of a Knicks mug. I'll go to a Knicks game and buy jerseys, but yeah, I'm not allowing my mental health or my stress load or my lack of sleep be tied up into a sports team. I just won't. But even with that, I do enjoy the Knicks being in a space of like being a great basketball team. It's really when I sit and think about it, and I think Kenny is the one who like had it dawn on me. This is the first time I've seen the Knicks be great in my life. The last time the Knicks were great, I can't act like I was a fan or even aware. That's like the late '90s. I was still a baby trying to figure this thing out. I was probably watching Michael Jordan and the Bulls and shit like that. So, yeah, man, super grateful for my New York Knicks, and I hope that we can put it together to at least get to the NBA Finals because I do want to see that for once, and I would think about something crazy like paying some money to maybe get in the building for that, but we'll see if that line needs to get crossed when the season go on. One of the other things that I'm grateful for that I talked about in the All-Star segment was just my era of basketball, right? What I grew up on, and I talked about it a little bit on Numbers on the Board, but I really grew up on these guys. Like Chris Paul announced that he's retiring at the end of this year. Like I grew up on Chris Paul. Like when I first heard the name or discovered Chris Paul, he was on his way to Wake Forest, McDonald's All-American, and I was a kid. I was a young kid. And to look up now, I'm a grown man. I got bills, and like I have a career, and I'm 30. I'm 30 years old, and Chris Paul is retiring. Like I think if we rewind time, and you told how old was I? Chris Paul was drafted in what 2005, I believe. I was 10 years old. I was born in '95. If you would have told a 10-year-old me that, hey, that dude will still be in the NBA when you're 30, I would probably looked at you like a fool. And it's the same thing when you look at Kevin Durant, who was drafted just a couple years after that. LeBron James, who was drafted before Chris Paul, who was still in the league. James Harden. Like these are guys that I legitimately grew up. And I told the story on Numbers on the Board. I'll tell it here. Those guys have been around so long that when my dad would give me the games to watch of them, they would be on like blanks. He would have to like tape record the games. Now you have YouTube, right? You have DVR. They've been around so long that those things didn't exist. You couldn't just go watch a full Arizona State game of James Harden on YouTube like you can today. There was no access like that. There was no forums or no websites where you can go talk with other like-minded people and to just think about all of this nostalgia or all of the memories I have with each and one of these guys. I can legitimately remember the first times I heard of these guys, and to see them be all-time greats is just kind of crazy. And again, I'm just thankful for it. And I've been able to live through so many different eras, right? I come from the 2000s brand of basketball where, it wasn't pace and space. You had four guys inside of the arc, and the games did end with a 73-69 type of score. And the pace was slower and different things like that. And to go into the next era of, LeBron and teaming up and these super teams and, small ball and high scoring, 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns was like a phenomenon. And now you look up and every team is playing like that. Don Nelson and how he used to play with the small ball lineups. And now, everybody is shooting threes and getting up, and it's pace. And to even see the double big come back, it's like I was around for the first version of it. So I'm just super grateful for that as a basketball fan. I think it gives me an extreme level head of and balance in how I consume and appreciate the game. You always have this old school, new school mindset and approach when you hear people talk about conversations revolving around the game. And I think I'm one of those guys that is able to sit right in the middle, right? I love some of the new school elements and the new versions of basketball, but I also am not ready to fully let go of what I grew up on and some of those old elements that I think will never leave the game, no matter what trend is in. So to be able to have that combination makes me extremely grateful. And then last but not least, I'm grateful for the platform, the privilege, the viewership that we have here at Tee It Up and with Enjoy. And, everybody that's tuning in at home right now who is hopefully made it to your destination safely, waiting for another day or so before the turkeys and hams and everything come out of the oven. It's super grateful to have community. We talked about it at Friendsgiving, or Kenny and my producer Christian were talking about it. And the community that we have is different. And it's hard to do a segment and talk about appreciation, to talk about gratefulness and what you're thankful for without mentioning it. And it has gone a long way to the point where you're now watching this either on a YouTube channel that is filled with support, or you're watching this on NBC Sports Now. And that those two things wouldn't be possible without the support and love from you guys. So I appreciate y'all. Again, I hope everybody has an incredible holiday. I hope everybody's food is good. Y'all know I'm picky Pete, so make sure that food is off the chain. And yeah, man, we'll be back with college basketball talk with producer Christian after our last break. And as always, to close out the show, we got our guy, producer Christian here. We're going to talk some college basketball. The first thing I want to talk to Christian about is, how does he feel about Arizona? Arizona is quietly maybe it's not even quietly, but they've had an incredible start to the season. Their very first game against Florida, I was looking at the game and say, okay, I want to see what Arizona's about. I definitely thought Florida was going to win that game. And I was wrong. Arizona won that game. They've also beat UCLA. They just recently beat UConn, which made me fully I got to lock it to Arizona. They may, be one of those teams that just not getting that type of coverage or love because we're obsessed with, how Houston looks, or even, for a second there, it looked like Alabama was going to win yesterday and they would have been a big talking point. But quietly, Arizona is one of the best teams, the second best team as far as rankings go in the nation. Early thoughts on Arizona and what stood out to you?
Yeah, it shouldn't be quiet because they got the best resume in the country. They're top 10 in offense and defense. Beat Florida, UCLA, UConn, as you said. The one thing is, I wish UConn didn't have their big guy, Terrace Reed. So, and, that's still a great road win to go beat UConn, but UConn didn't have Terrace Reed or Braylon Mullins, who might be a lottery pick we still haven't seen. So that's my slight asterisk I'll give you. But Kobe Pete and Jaden Bradley have been unreal. And Dwayne Aristode, the 6'8" freshman wing, is a guy who I've been seeing on draft boards, but he didn't play in those big games. So I'm like, what's the hype on this guy? But they played Northern Arizona and Denver, blew both those teams out, and Aristode looked really good. Big, strong wing who can shoot the three ball. So another guy to watch for Arizona.
I mentioned it. Last night's game was super exciting. It was so exciting that I kind of disregarded some of my NBA games. Gonzaga, Alabama. You know me, big Nate Oates fan, so I love me some Alabama. A lot of people ask me who are my college teams. My college teams are tied to the coaches that I like. I love Nate Oates, so I'm an Alabama guy, and I love Penny Hardaway, so by default, I'm into Memphis. But yeah, tough loss there. I know you love Gonzaga. You came to me, I think, early in the season after the first two games. It was like, I'm a big believer in this Gonzaga team. So what did you take from that game? And did it further cement your Gonzaga love so far?
I'm on board with Nate Oates. Just to be clear, too, these are two of my favorite programs in the country just because they play aesthetically pleasing basketball, and I just love the way the coaches approach the game. Nate Oates just threw his guys into the gauntlet of St. John's, Purdue, Illinois, Gonzaga. It's a crazy way to start the season. But Gonzaga is so old. Everyone's like 24 years old. They've got two really good post guys in Graham Ike and Braden Huff. And then Tyon Grant Foster is such an uber talented player who played Alabama in the tournament at Grand Canyon.
Yep.
They upset St. Mary's the first round, had 29 against Bama. So I was interested to see that match again. He gives you 21. Steele Venters was the Big Sky Player of the Year at Eastern Washington 2 years ago and was like a sleeper NBA guy, just a lights out shooter, tears his ACL, comes back, tears his Achilles, didn't get to play basketball forever, and he came back, hit 4 threes in this game. So shout out to him. Bama, nothing
Stay
to be worried
with
about.
it because he missed some early ones and he was mad at himself, but he stayed with it and they eventually failed.
Just shook the tail. But I mean, LeBaron Philon is absurd. He had 29. Nate Oates was on his ass though because he didn't get a single rebound, and he needs his guards to help rebounding. So that's something to look at. But Bama's just so battle tested. They're going to get better. They've had issues on the glass though, so that's guys like Taylor Bull-Bowen, Sherrell, and Keaton Bristow. It's going to be big time for them to be able to just compete against some of these teams that have more on the interior.
Yeah, Sherrell impressed me throughout certain phases of the game, and so did my guy Jemison, the freshman that came off the bench. I liked him a bit, but yeah, Gonzaga is just different level of front court play for them. The last thing I want to pick your brain about is something I saw on social media, and I don't even think it dawned on me before seeing this, but Darren Peterson. There are people that are believing that we might not see Darren Peterson again this year, which again, it never crossed my mind. I was like, oh, he's hurt, he'll come back, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, oh, do you want to risk it or not? It's the guy that I think was cemented as one of the top picks regardless. So I wanted to get your thoughts on, do you think he'll return, and would it even matter as far as his draft stock?
If he's out for like a month, I'll put some tinfoil on. But for now, I think it's just a hamstring thing. And because Bill Self knows Kansas isn't doing squat this season without him, that they're just being very careful with him.
Which I think is the right decision. I agree. Special talent we want to see back on the floor. Hey, as the season progresses, this segment will turn into something a lot bigger. So make sure y'all tune in to the college basketball section of the show. As always, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next week. We out. Peace.